Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome to another exciting video on this system design playlist series. In this video, we are going to discuss about the design architecture of one more interesting system, which is nothing but Instagram. You can also consider this as Facebook system design or LinkedIn system design. So let's get started and design Instagram. So you can see a diagram on the screen. It seems quite complicated right now, but after watching this video you will have the enough understanding of this diagram, the flow of the diagram, and about all the tech jargons that are mentioned here. So let's start with the functional and non-functional requirements of the system. So first, user will come to this system and upload images, videos and plain text, and there will be no constraint that one user can post only one video at a time. So there will be no such constraint like this. So this is about our first functional requirement, that user will be uploading images, videos and plain text. The next functional requirement of our system will be this follow someone. So in Instagram you would have seen that you send follow request to someone and then they give you follow back. So let's say here we have user 1 and here we have user 2. So this user 1 can follow this user 2 and this user 2 can follow this user 1. Now if user 1 is following user 2, that doesn't mean that this user 2 also follows this user 1. So this is a unidirectional kind of thing, so we will be managing this. So this is about our second functional requirement. Next we have view timeline. So in order to understand this, we first need to understand what exactly this home timeline is and what exactly this user timeline is. So when you go to someone's profile page, you will see their username, you will see all the posts made by them, you will see their bio, introduction kind of line. So all such information will be present in the profile page, and this profile page is known as user timeline here. So every user will have its own user timeline. Now let's discuss about this home timeline. So when you go to Instagram homepage, you will see all the post made by others, or we can say post made by users whom you follow. So you will see all such posts. Now this home page is known as home timeline here, home timeline, where you will see all the posts, all the relevant posts made by others, or we can say made by people whom you follow. So this is about our third functional requirement. Next we have the search user and trending topic. So in Instagram there's a search page in which we will be having search bar. So in that search bar we can search a particular user. Let's say you want to search your friend, so you can search your friend there, and you can also search a trending topic. So let's say hashtag World Cup is trending, so you can search that keyword in that search bar and then you will see all the trending posts related to that keyword. So this is about our fourth functional requirement. Next we have this activity log. So when someone will open his home page, or we can say home timeline, they will see all the posts made by others, and then they will interact with that post. Let's say if that post is their friend's post, so they might be liking that post, they might be commenting on that post, and they will be sharing that post. So they can perform different tasks. So what Instagram will do, it will capture all the users action, in what all the posts they are liking, what all the posts they are sharing, in what all the posts they are commenting. So Instagram will capture all this data and will store this somewhere in some data store. So this is about our fifth functional requirement. Now we are pretty much good with the functional requirements. Now let's discuss a little about non-functional requirements of the system. So first, our system really needs to be highly available. Next we have this fast upload and fast rendering. So what this fast upload means. So when you upload a picture of yours in Instagram, you provide caption on that. You might be adding some keywords, some hashtags. So you will add all such information, and then you will click on upload button or publish button. So the moment you will click on upload button or publish button, that image or that post should be immediately come to our system. So this is the meaning of fast upload. Now what is this fast rendering? So when you open your Instagram home page, you will see your home timeline, and in that home timeline you will see all the posts made by others or made by your friends. So the moment you will open your home page, all the posts should be rendered immediately, or we can say that all the posts should be rendered very fast. So this is about our second non-functional requirement. Next we have this access pattern. So let's say a celebrity posted a photo, not celebrity, let's say a particular picture or particular video is trending a lot in Instagram. So in initial days it will get so much of interaction, it will have so much of likes, it will get so much of likes, so much of comments, lot of people would be sharing that, lot of people would be putting that on story. So in initial days that post will get so much of interaction, but after some time, let's say after some days or after some weeks, this post will get almost zero interaction. So how we are going to manage this, we will be discussing this as well. So this is about our third non-functional requirement. Next we have this scalable. So our system really needs to be scalable. Let's say millions of users coming to the system. So in this case as well, our system should not crash or should not go down, should not behave slow. So this is all about non-functional requirements. Now we are pretty much good with the functional and non-functional requirements. Now let's discuss about some of the ballpark figures to make database choice and to make the further design of our system. So if we talk about daily active users of Instagram, so we will be having 500 million plus daily active users. And if we talk about monthly active users, then Instagram will be having 2 billion plus monthly active users. This tells that Instagram is going to be a read heavy system for sure. So this is about the read heavy behavior of Instagram. And if we talk about the write heavy behavior of Instagram, then in Instagram there are 1,000 new posts coming to Instagram every single second. And if we talk about this for day, so in a single day we will be having 95 million plus posts coming to Instagram every single day. So this tells that Instagram is also a write heavy system. So this ballpark figures tells us that Instagram is going to be a read heavy system as well as write heavy system. So we have to make database choice very smartly, and we have to design our system very smartly so that we can handle all those things. Now let's try to design our system. So all the components available in green color would be our user interfaces through which user can interact to our system. So these are the interaction points through which users will communicate to our system. And these are our load balancers. They are also reverse proxies and authentication and authorization layers in between. So these load balancers will authenticate incoming request coming to our system from the outside world. So this is about load balancer. Now components available in blue color would be our REST services written by our own. So each REST service will have its own functionality, will provide some of the functionality. So this is about REST services. Now all the components available in this color would be either databases, Kafka consumers, or other open source tools that we used for this system. Now let's discuss the flow. So control starts from this login UI. let's say someone wants to log into our system, or someone wants to create profile on Instagram, so they will come to this login UI page, and then they will make a request, and request will go to this user service, because this user service powers the login and sign up functionality. And this user service is also a source of truth for all the user related information. If let's say someone wants to change his username, someone wants to change his email address, someone wants to change his phone number, so all this information will be managed by this user service, because all the data related to user service would be stored in this MySQL database. So this user service will be a source of truth for all the user related information, and this user service will power some of the post APIs to update user related information, and it will also provide some of the get APIs to fetch users information. So these APIs can be get user by user ID, get user by email ID. So all such get APIs will be powered by this user service. Now this user service is sitting on top of MySQL database. Now why we are using MySQL database for this user service? Because user related data is going to be very well structured, and it can be easily present in the form of tables. Now even if we will be having millions of user in our Instagram system, but still this MySQL database will be easily manage users data. So this is the reason we are going to use MySQL database for this user service. And since this user service is a source of truth for all the user related information, if anyone wants to fetch detail of a particular user, so this information will be powered by this user service. So other services might be talking to user service for user related information. Let's say this graph service wants to fetch detail of a particular user, so it might query this user service. So this is about user service, and we are considering Redis here for this user service because user related information is not going to be changed very frequently, because you yourself know that when you create your profile on Instagram, you provide your email address, you provide your phone number, and for a long period of time you do not change this information. So this is the reason we are going to cache this user related information. So this is the first thing that we are going to cache, user details, and here key will be user ID. So this is pretty much for this user service. Now the next service that we have is this graph service. So this graph service will be responsible for following and followers thing. Let's say one user 1 wants to follow this user 2. So this post API will be provided by this graph service, and let's say this user 1 wants to fetch the followers of user 2. So all such APIs will be powered by this graph service. So this graph service will also power some of the post APIs to add link to new follower to new user, and it will provide some get APIs to fetch someone's follower or someone's following. So this graph service will provide some bulk get APIs, and it will provide some of the bulk get APIs to find mutual connections. Now what does that mean? So when you go to someone's profile, you see mutual connections, let's say 62 mutual connection. So this graph service will provide this API through which we can access all the 62 mutual friends in a single go. So instead of calling this graph service and user service for each and every user, what this graph service will do, it will fetch all the 62 followers, 62 friends in a single go. So this will reduce the latency and saves lot of time. Now this graph service is also sitting on top of MySQL database, because here also data is going to be very well structured and it can be easily managed, even if we will be having millions of users. The only difference here is that this MySQL database will be managing more data as compared to this MySQL database, because here we are managing followers and following things. So here the amount of data would be high, and we are also considering Redis here for followers and following thing. So this is the one more thing that we will be caching, where key will be the user ID and value will be the object of this type. It can be following, it can be followers. So why we are caching this followers and following thing? Because you yourself know that you do not add new people every day, or we can say that you do not follow new people every day. Although for 500 million users this data is going to be changed very frequently, but for most of the users, let's say 250 million plus users or 350 million plus users, this data is not going to be changed very frequently. So we can think of caching this information. So this is about the graph service and this is about the user service. Now let's discuss how post will come to our system, how user will upload a picture, how user will publish a picture. So this will be managed by this upload UI. User will come to this upload UI and then they will provide their image, video or whatever they want to post. So they will provide all this information, will add caption, will add some keywords, and then will hit on publish button or upload button. Then this request will go to this post ingestion service. Now in our functional requirements we have discussed that this post can be an image, it can be a video, or it can be a plain text. So we will have to manage all those things in a different way. So what this post ingestion service will do, it will identify the post type. Is that post contains image? Is that post contains video? Is that post contains any long URL? So all this information will be figured out by this post ingestion service, and then this post ingestion service will send this data to different services. Now let's say if that post contains video or image, then this post ingestion service will send this data to asset service. So this asset service is nothing but our Netflix system. So I have made a separate video on that, so please go and watch that video if you want to learn more about Netflix system design, in which you will be learning how we are going to store the video, how we are going to store the image to S3 storage and CDN, and then how we are going to fetch the video. So all this information will be present in this Netflix system design video, so please go and watch that video. So this post ingestion service will manage image and video through this asset service, and if that post contains long URL, so in this case this post ingestion service will call this tinyURL service. Now what this tinyURL service will do, it will simply take that long URL and it will generate a short unique URL for that particular long URL. It will add an entry to in database that for short URL, this is the long URL, so it will add an entry like this, and then it will provide the short URL to user, or we can say it will provide short URL to this post ingestion service. So how this tinyURL service works, so I made a separate video on that, so please go and watch tinyURL system design video for better understanding. Now the only thing which is left is this plain text. So in order to manage this post ingestion service will store all this data in this Cassandra database. So it will store all the metadata related to post. It can be a caption, it can be keywords, it can be hashtags. So all this information will be stored in this Cassandra database, and yes, plain text itself, text content itself. So all this information will be stored in this Cassandra database, and this post ingestion service will generate a unique post ID, let's say P1, and then it will send this data to Kafka that U1 user posted a tweet P1. So till this point we have stored the post to different data stores. If that post contains video, then we are going to store that video or image in S3 storage and CDN. If that post contains plain text, normal text, then we are going to store this in Cassandra, and then we will be sending this data to Kafka. So till this point we have stored everything in different data store, and the flow or work of this post ingestion service is over now. So basically this post ingestion service is responsible for saving the post. It is only responsible for saving the post. It does not provide any fetch APIs to fetch post or fetch post of a particular user, fetch post by post ID. So it does not provide any such API. It provides only post API through which we can save the post to different data stores. Now, if this post ingestion service does not provide any get APIs to fetch the post, then who will be responsible for that? So for this, we will be having this post service. This post service will provide all types of API to fetch post. It can be get post by post ID, get post by user ID. So all such APIs will be powered by this post service. This post service is sitting on top of Cassandra database. So this post service owns the schema of this Cassandra, and all the data resides in it. So it will own all this data. So this is about post service, and this post service is also responsible for generating the timeline. So this timeline will also be managed by this post service. That means whenever someone's timeline needs to be generated, this will also be managed by this post service. Now let's discuss about this user timeline and home timeline, how we are going to access user timeline and how we are going to access home timeline. But before that, let's discuss about this Cassandra database. What are the things that we will be storing in this Cassandra? So we are going to store user ID. Basically we will be having one post table. So in that post table we are going to store user ID, we are going to store post ID, we will be storing actual text content, so we will be storing this. We are going to store some of the keywords. If there are any keywords, then we will be storing this, and then we are going to store timestamp, at what time this post has been uploaded. So all this information will be stored in this Cassandra database. And what is this user ID here? So this user ID is nothing but the ID of the user who made a post. Let's say U1 user made a post, so we are going to store this U1 ID here. So this is the data that we are going to store in this Cassandra database. Now let's discuss about this user timeline and home timeline. What will happen when some user will come to this user timeline and home timeline? So what are the things that they will see? So as we have already discussed, that user timeline is nothing but a profile page. When someone will go to the profile page of some other user, they will see all the posts made by that user and their username, their bio and other information. So let's say this U1 user went to the profile page of user 2, or we can say that this user 1 went to the user timeline of user 2. So in this case, what it will see all the posts made by this user 2. So post, it will see username and other information, let's say bio or some other information. So how we are going to manage this? So this U1 user will go to the user timeline. So it will go here and it will ask to the timeline service that, hey, give me all the posts made by user 2. So this timeline service will fetch this data and then it will send this data to post service. It will send U2 ID to post service. Now what this post service will do, it will send this U2 ID to the Cassandra database. Let's say all the details related to U2 ID will be stored here. So this post service will send U2 ID to Cassandra database, and then it will fetch all the posts made by user 2, and then it will send this data to timeline service. Timeline service will manage them, arrange them, and then it will send this data to user timeline. So it will show this data in the user timeline UI. So this is the thing that we are going to do for user timeline. Basically, we are going to use this kind of query, select star on Cassandra, where user ID equals to U2. So this is the kind of query that we are running in order to fetch someone's user timeline. Now how we are going to fetch home timeline? So let's first understand what home timeline is. So home timeline is nothing but a home page in which you will see all the posts made by users whom you follow. Let's say you are user 1 and you follow user 2, user 3 and user 4. So in your home page you will see all the posts made by these 3 users. So this is what we have to manage. So how we are going to do this? So in this case, the brute force approach that we can follow, we will go to the home timeline. So this user 1 will go to the home timeline and it will ask that give me my home timeline. Request will go to this timeline service. Now in order to generate the home timeline, this timeline service will have to find out all the people whom this user 1 follows. So in this case, user 1 follows user 2, user 3, user 4. So what this timeline service will do, it will call this graph service, and through this graph service, this timeline service will fetch all the people whom this user 1 follows. So it will fetch user 2, user 3 and user 4, and then it will send all these 3 IDs U2, U3 and U4 to this post service, and then this post service will fetch all the posts made by user 2, made by user 3, made by user 4. So this post service will fetch all the posts made by different users from Cassandra database. Then this post service will return that data to timeline service. Timeline service will rearrange them and sort them on the basis of latest post, and then it will send this to home timeline. So this is a very naive and brute force kind of approach, because let's say this user 1 follows 1000 people. So in this case, timeline service will have to fetch all the 1000 followers, 1000 people. Basically it will be following. So a timeline service will have to find all the 1000 people, and then it will send ID of all the 1000 people to post service, and then post service will fetch post of each and every user. So it will have to perform lot of things, and it will have to do lot of things, because we are querying Cassandra database for each and every user. In order to get the post of U2 user, we are querying Cassandra. In order to get the post of U3, we are querying Cassandra. In order to get the post of user 4, we are querying Cassandra. So we are querying Cassandra database for each and every user, and that too for multiple times, because it might be possible that this user 1 is accessing Instagram, let's say 6-7 times in a day. So we are performing all these operations 6-7 times in a day just for only one user. So querying Cassandra for each and every user will obviously slow down the things, and it will increase the latency of our system. So we are not going to use this brute force technique. Instead, what we will do, we will cache the home timeline of active users. Now what does that mean? So as we have already discussed that Instagram is going to be a read heavy system, because we will be having 500 million plus daily active users, and it is very obvious that they will be accessing 6-7 posts every day. I'm talking about per user here. So our system is going to be read heavy, and whenever you design a read heavy system, it is very good to pre-calculate some of the information or cache some of the information. So what we will do, we will cache the home timeline of active users in Redis. Now what does that mean and how we are going to achieve this? So as we have already discussed that this post ingestion service sends an event to Kafka. So you can see that we have sent this event to Kafka, that U1 user posted a tweet, posted a post P1, and we have sent this to Kafka. Now we will be having this post processor service. What this post processor service will do, it will grab an event that U1 user made a post and its ID is P1. So it will grab that event. Now what this post processor service will do, it will find out all the followers of user 1. Let's say we have U4 user, we have U5 user, and we have U6 user, and all these users follow this user 1. So what this post processor service will do, it will find out all the followers of user 1. So the followers of user 1 is user 4, user 5, and user 6. Now it will create the home timeline of this user 4, this user 5, and this user 6 in Redis. So it will add this entry, this U4 entry in Redis, U5 entry in Redis, U6 entry in Redis, and then it will add the post of user 1. So this user 1 made a post with ID P1. So what this post processor service will do, it will add this P1 post in the home timeline of all these users. Now let's say there's some another user, let's say U2, and this user is also followed by all 3 users, user 4, user 5, and user 6. And let's say this user 2 posted P2 post. So this P2 post will also be added in the home timeline of all 3 users. Now we are going to cache this information, or we can say that we are going to store this information in Redis, and then entry will be stored here. So entry will be stored here, where user ID, where key will be the user ID, as we have already discussed. So here key will be the user ID and value will be the object of this type, this post type. So we are going to store this entry in Redis. Now we have stored this in Redis with the help of post processor service. Now how we are going to fetch this? Now let's say this user 4 came to his home timeline. That means he wants to see all the posts made by others or made by people whom this user 4 follows. So this user 4 follows this user 1 and this user 2. So in the home timeline of user 4, he will see all the posts made by this user 1 and all the posts made by this user 2. So he will go to the UI of home timeline. So he will go to here, user 4, and then request will go to this timeline service. Now this timeline service will first check in Redis. So it will check in Redis that do we have any entry for user 4. Then this Redis will say that yes, I have an entry for user 4, and then it will return that entry to this timeline service, and then this timeline service will show that entry to this home timeline UI. So you can see that it has removed so much of workload, because initially what we were doing, we were going to this timeline service, and then this timeline service used to find all the people whom this user 4 follows. So it will find out that okay, user 4 follows u1 user, and it follows u2 user. So first it find out both the users, and then it send u1 and u2 id to this post service, and then this post service find out all the post made by u1 and u2, then it returns the post to timeline service. So there were so much things that we were doing, but here user came to this timeline service, and then timeline service simply checks this in Redis, that do we have any entry for user 4. If yes, then this Redis will return that entry, and then we will show this entry to home timeline, and we call this technique as fan out technique, fan out on write. So this is how we are going to access the home timeline. Now we have millions of users in our Instagram system. So are we going to store the home timeline of every single user in Redis? Actually no, we are not going to do this. What we will do, we will store the home timeline of only those users in Redis who are active, and if some user is passive, then we are not going to store their home timeline in Redis. Now what is active user and what is passive user? So active users are the one who is accessing Instagram in last 3 days, and those who are not accessing Instagram in last 3 days will be known as passive users. So we are going to store the home timeline of only active users in Redis. We are not going to store the home timeline of passive users in Redis. So we have discussed how we are going to handle the case if this u4 user is an active user. Let's say if that u4 user is a passive user. So how we are going to handle this case? So if u4 user is a passive user, that means there will be no home timeline entry in this Redis cache for u4. So basically, if this u4 user is a passive user, then we are not going to find this home timeline in Redis. So what we will do, we will simply, this user 4 will come to the home timeline, and then request will go to timeline service. Now this timeline service will go to the graph service that hey, give me all the people this user 4 follows. So user 4 follows user 1, user 4 follows user 1 and user 2. So this graph service will send this data to timeline service. Now this timeline service will query post service, and it will send this u1 id and u2 id to the post service, and it will ask to provide all the posts made by this u1 user and u2 user. So this post service will query Cassandra database, and it will find out all the posts made by u1 user and u2 user, and then this post service will send this data to timeline service, and then this timeline service will return this data to the home timeline of user 4. So it will return this data, and this timeline service will also store this entry in Redis. Why? Because this user 4 is become active user now. So we are going to store this entry in Redis. Basically we are storing users 4 home timeline in Redis. So this is how we are going to handle the active users case, passive users case. Now there's one more thing. What if we will be having a celebrity in our system? So how we are going to handle this case? So let's say this user 1 who posted something who posted P1. Let's say this user has 75 million plus followers. So if this user posts something, are we going to update the home timeline of 75 million users? No, we are not going to do this, because just for one single update we just cannot update 75 million records. So how are we going to handle this case? So let's say here we have this user 1 and he has 75 million plus followers, and he posted, let's say, P1 post. So let me first remove this post from here. Yeah, so let me just remove this from here. And this user 1 is followed by 75 million users, and in those 75 million users, this user 4 is one of the user, this user 5 is one of the user, and this user 6 is one of the user. So basically we will have to add this P1 post in the home timeline of all these users along with 75 million users. So how we will add this P1 post in the home timeline of all these users? We just cannot do in a normal way that we simply added this post in the home timeline of all these users in Redis, because this U1 is a celebrity, and if we have to add the P1 post in the home timeline of all these users, we will have to update 75 million records. So we are not going to do this. So what we will do, we will simply do a simple thing. Let's say this user 4 wants to access his home timeline, so he will go to the home timeline. So this user 4 will come to the home timeline, then request will go to timeline service. Now this timeline service will see is this user a active user. So in order to get this information, he will query this user service. So you can see an arrow going towards user service. So this timeline service will get the information about user's type. Is he an active user or a passive user? So let's say he is an active user. So his entry will definitely be stored in this Redis cache. So this timeline service will query this Redis cache, and it will access the home timeline of user 4. So it will access this home timeline of user 4. But in the home timeline of user 4, we do not have this P1 post. Why? Because this is a celebrities post, so we haven't added this yet. So this timeline service will fetch this home timeline of user 4, and this timeline service will also query graph service, and it will find out that what are the celebrities whom this user 4 follows. So this user 4 follows a celebrity U1 who has 75 million plus followers. So this timeline service will fetch this information that okay, this user 4 follows user 1 and user 1 has 75 million plus followers. So this timeline service will send this U1 ID to the post service, and then post service will find out all the posts made by this user 1, and then it will return this data to timeline service. Now this timeline service will have the access of normal users post, let's say P2. So this P2 post is made by user 2, and this user 2 is a normal user, and this user 1 is a celebrity. So this timeline service will have the access of normal users post, and it is also have the access of celebrities post now, which he accessed from post service. So what it will do, it will add this P1 entry here in the home timeline of user 4, and then it will return this home timeline to user. I know it is quite complicated, so let's try to catch up the things again. So let's say here we have user 4, and this user 4 follows user 1 and user 2. This user 2 is a normal user who has 75 followers, and this user 1 is a celebrity who has 75 million plus followers. And let's say this user 4 is an active user, so there will be an entry in Redis, home timeline entry in Redis for this user 4. So this is the home timeline entry of user 4 in Redis. Now let's say this U2 user posted something, let's say P2. So this P2 will be added in the home timeline of user 4. So this P2 will be added in a normal way using post processor service. Now let's say this user 1 also posted P1. Now in this case we just cannot add this P1 directly to the home timeline of this user 4 because he is a celebrity and we just cannot do this using post processor service. So in order to handle this, we are going to use post service. So we will send this UI U1 ID to post service, and then post service will fetch all the posts made by this U1 user. Since this U1 user made a P1 post, so this post service will come up with P1 ID and it will send this ID to timeline service. Now this timeline service will have the access of this and it will also have the access of this. So what he will do, he will have to send both the IDs P2 and P1 to user 4 because he is waiting for his home timeline. So this timeline service will add this P2 in some output and it will also add this P1 in this output. So it will also add this P1 in this output and it will simply return this output to the user 4. So this is how we are going to handle different cases, and we have discussed enough about user timeline and home timeline now, and we have discussed the best approach because we will be having millions of user in our system. So we have discussed according to the scenario, according to our requirement, according to the traffic. Now there's one more thing, that this Redis can become a bottleneck here. Why? Because Redis cannot contain data for a long period of time. So let's say we will be storing data, only today's data in Redis, all the posts that have come today. So for everything in the past we will be using some archival service. So let's say here we will be having one archival service. What this archival service will do, so this archival service will simply fetch all the data from Redis, all the past data from Redis, all the home timelines, different users home timeline. So this archival service will run a cron job kind of thing, and it will fetch all the home timeline of different users, and then it will store this in some permanent data store. Let's say NoSQL database, it can be Cassandra or any other NoSQL database. So this is how we are going to manage this, and then we will clear the cache. This makes sure that we have finite amount of data in Redis. So yeah, this is pretty much for this home timeline and user timeline. Now let's discuss about the search service of our system. So we have been discussing about the search service, Elasticsearch cluster for such a long period of time. We have discussed about this in other system design videos as well. So I am skipping this and leaving this for you. So let me know about this in comment section. Now we have one more service, this activity log service. So in order to understand this, let's first discuss this like service and comment service of our system. So when user likes a particular post, this like service will get invoked. This like service is responsible for putting a like on something on a post, and it is also responsible for getting the number of likes on a particular post. Let's say you want to get the number of likes in a particular post, so all of those are powered by this like service. Now what kind of data we will be storing in this like service? So we will be storing user ID. So we will be storing user ID. That means user who liked the post. So user who liked the post, we will be storing this information, and we will also be storing this post ID. Post ID. So post which is being liked. So all this information we will be storing related to likes, post which is being liked. So we are going to store this kind of information for like service, and the database that we are going to use for this live service would be Cassandra database. Now we are also considering Redis here for like service. Now what is the need of this Redis here? So you can see a Redis that we are using for this like service. So whenever a post is displayed, along with the post content, the number of likes are also shown. Details are not shown. You will not be able to see more details, but number of likes are shown. So the number of likes is being powered by the Redis. Redis shows the number of likes on a particular post. Let's say if a particular post has 75 likes, so this information will be stored in Redis because it is going to be very frequently accessed. So this is the reason we are using Redis here. Now let's discuss about this comment service. So when you want to put a comment on something on a particular post, or you want to get the number of comments on a particular post, all of those are powered by this comment service. So this is about comment service. Now what kind of data you will be storing in this comment service? So we will be storing post ID, post in which user added a comment. Then we will be storing user ID, user who added a comment, and then we will be adding comment. So this is the kind of data that we will be storing in this comment service database. And what kind of database we will be using for this comment service? So we are going to use Cassandra database here. So this is pretty much for this comment service and like service. Now whatever user is liking, this will be sent to this Kafka. You can see an arrow going towards Kafka. Whatever comment user is putting on any post, this will also be going towards Kafka. Whatever user is searching, this will also be going towards Kafka. So all this information will be sent to Kafka, and this will be help us to generate the recommendation feed for user. This will tell the user's interest, what he is watching, what he is liking, what he is commenting, what he is searching. So everything will help us to generate the recommendation feed for user. Now whatever user is liking, whatever user is commenting, what all the post user is commenting, so all this information will be sent to this Kafka, and then this Kafka will send this data to activity log service. So activity log service will store this data in NoSQL database. That here we have this user, let's say U1 user, and this user liked on P1 post and commented on P2 post. So all this information will be stored in this activity log database. So here we will be storing user ID, and here we will be having post, and here we will be having action. So all this data will be stored in this activity log database. So yeah, this is pretty much for this activity log service. Now how user will interact. So user will come to this activity log service, and then he will be able to see about his actions, on what all the post he provided like, and on what all the post he commented. So all this information will be powered by this activity log service. So this activity log service will power some of the post APIs to store users action in NoSQL database, and it will also provide some of the get APIs to access users action, users activity. So this is pretty much for Instagram system design. And one last thing that I forgot to mention, that when user posts something, let's say it can be a video or it can be an image, so it will be stored in CDN. In initial days he will get so much of interaction, this post will get so much of interaction, so much of likes, so much of comment, and this post will be shared a lot. So in initial days it will get so much of interaction, but after some time this post will have almost zero interaction. So if that post will start getting almost zero interaction, then in this case we will remove that video or image from CDN. So we will remove that video or image from CDN, and then we will utilize this CDN for some other post, some other new post. So this is how we are going to manage this access pattern non-functional requirements. Now we have discussed enough about this Instagram system design. So that's all for this video. We'll see you in the next video. So till then, bye bye, show some love, thanks.